finisher issue where like, okay, they hit their finisher. Are they really gonna like be counted out for that one? But like for these matches, I did it take me out of it. I was like, okay, this is solid. Let's freaking go. And then they did a really, really cool thing because I thought they were going to go this way for a second there. I, for a second, thought they were about to do a count out, like just a double count out. Like I thought they were just,
okay, right.
I thought they were going to do it. And I was like, I don't know how I feel. I was like, I hope they don't do it. But if they go this route,
I'm
like
so torn on what happened.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of DHH Presents PodcastMania. I'm Luke, and join with me every time we do these episodes, we have my lovely co-host, Nick. Nick, say hello to the people, man.
Hello to the people. How are you all doing? Luke, how are you doing? And how did you enjoy Money in the Bank?
I'm gonna be honest. It was actually a good show. I enjoyed it a lot for what it was. It wasn't like my absolute favorite Money in the Bank, but it definitely had some. I think both ladder matches overall were pretty good. And there was a couple matches here and there that were honestly it wasn't a bad show by any means. I will say probably the thing I am most happy about is that there was not a cash in at the show. So I always feel like that's their like their tried and true thing nowadays is like someone's cashing in on that show. And so once I saw that the main event was Cena, I'm like, and Jay, I'm like, oh my God, someone's gonna cash in right here. And I was gonna be upset.
Well,
so
I mean, they could have, but like
Yeah.
that'd have been a weird one because it's a tag team, so you'd have been cashing in to be like what 1v. But you're going in as like a 5-man match at that point.
Yeah.
And which belt are you even cashing in on?
Exactly.
Do you just like cash in when everyone's down and manage to like pin someone that's not even pin Logan Paul and win both belts? Like that'd have been definitely that was never on the card. However, I will say that after watching, you know, when it pops up as like, because I was watching on Netflix with my mates, pops up as like what happened on last year's show. It reminded me of how it went down last time, and we were watching, and Damian Priest failed to kick out, but the referee didn't, just stopped counting. Like I don't know if you remember that. I definitely didn't, but we went back and it was
I saw that.
Not a great showing, but this one was good. I enjoyed this year's for sure.
No, it was a good one for sure. I don't have any issues with the show, so I enjoyed it as well, and I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. So I guess you know we're gonna run through the card a little bit. You know, obviously not super structured, but just having a good old chat. Are you a fan of when they kick off the show with the Money in the Bank, like a ladder match first, like the first? I've always feel like that's the go-to kind of thing.
It's an interesting one, right? And it happens, I think, with the Royal Rumble now as well, that you'll often start with like in the women's or the men's Rumble and then have the other one later on. It's difficult to say because you want these matches to be essentially the main event. But that's one difficult when there's two of them, because if you put one of them as the main event, you're essentially saying, well, this one is definitely more important than the previous one. And second, I think that there is it's a great way to hype up the start of PLE, right? Because if you'd have, say, had the second match, which was Dominic versus, is his name Octagon Jr.? I think I've got listed down here. That fine match, and we'll get into it in a bit, but I don't think it would have been exactly the way you want to start a pay-per-view. So I don't mind it, to be honest with you. I think it's a good way of like, I'm sitting down, I'm ready for a ladder match, and what do you start off with? You start off with a goddamn ladder match. So it's like, So I like it, but I mean, are you not such a fan then, when you bring it up?
No, I mean, I am a fan of it, but I also feel, I think this crowd did a really good job at it. But most crowds, I feel like they get very deflated after the Money in the Bank ladder match, because it's like very high action, high paced, high energy, and then it just kind of sucks the life out of the crowd during like the other matches, which I don't feel like it happened on this occasion, but I was a little worried about it when I saw it start. I'm like, man, because I knew that we were gonna have Lyra and Becky too later in the match, and I'm like, I really don't want the crowd to to be deflated for that specific match because of how good that match actually was and how I knew it was going to be based off their first match that they had. So I was like, okay, I want the crowd to be there. So I was a little concerned at first, but then I was like, okay, as the night went on, I was like, okay, the crowd is not deflated. So good job on the crowd out in LA. They did a good job. Yeah.
Well, I think I don't know how much you've heard about it because I've kind of watched bits and pieces, not exactly behind the scenes, but
Hmm.
call it dirt sheets, whatever you want to say. Apparently, because of obviously, we're not going to go into the details, but because of everything going on in LA at the moment
Hmm.
with protests and stuff, a lot of people were late to the show,
Hmm.
and so the crowd got busier and filled out
Yeah.
as the show went on.
Hmm.
So I think that the reason it didn't get deflated because probably half of them hadn't even seen the first
That's
match,
true. Yeah, I
and
did
you
realize that.
you yeah, you do get some shots of like a fairly empty arena in the
Hmm.
beginning portion, which it is a shame, and but it's also very difficult. What are they supposed to do? Because you don't know how long it could take people to arrive. Do they just delay it indefinitely?
Hmm.
So I'm not opposed to the fact that it happened that way. It's
Yeah.
just a shame, but it does lend to us as a TV audience, sitting at home, not getting that deflated feeling.
Yeah.
So, swings and roundabouts. But you are right; it can lead to that definitely
Yeah, for sure.
for some PLEs.
100%. But yeah, let's get into it. I mean, like, yeah, the ladder match happened. It
Mm,
was the way I love the way they structured it because it was kind of like the new girls versus the established girls, right? I'm not saying because obviously like Alexa's been there a while, but we've got not Raquel, Stephanie, Julia, and Roxanne as the three freshest
yeah.
faces, and then we've got
Hmm.
Alexa, Naomi, and then Rhea, obviously. And I really, really liked like the I really like I enjoyed that ladder match. I think it was better than the men's ladder match personally. I
Okay, we have got wildly different takes on this then. So I will. Can I jump in on this point?
Yeah, go
Because
ahead.
what you are saying, it is correct and it started off great. You've
Hmm.
got literally the three. I'm going to call them newbies. Three
Yeah.
newbies versus the three vets, and they one on one, but
Hmm.
it's a newbie versus vet, a newbie versus, and then newbies all get knocked out, which is kind of what you'd expect because the
Hmm.
veterans should be winning the initial one
Hmm.
on one. But as the show went on, or rather, as the match went on, what this turned into for me was this was the Roxanne and Juliet show.
Hmm.
Okay, Stephanie may have had her moments, but she wasn't anywhere near as big as them, and it was a great way to highlight them,
Hmm.
and I appreciated that. But they were in like the two of them
Hmm.
were probably 50% of the match.
Yeah.
Either it was one of them versus somebody else, or the two of them versus each other,
Hmm.
and or in some instances, them versus one of them. And when you've got two people being 50% of the match, that means that the four other women in the match were kind of sharing the other 50% between themselves. And I felt like it was very unequal or unequal, whatever the correct term would be there. And it did sort of not bring me out of it. That's definitely wrong. I was definitely enjoying and sucked into the match, but I think that's because of the type of match it is. I love a ladder match,
Hmm.
probably my favorite match type, and so I'm definitely biased towards that. But I just felt like they didn't need quite so much screen time.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Uh,
I get it, but like, okay, so this is my logical sense of why there was the Roxanne and Julia show, right? Because they were the two that could take the most punishment, right? Because Rhea never been in a ladder match before, and they cannot afford to hurt Rhea. Alexa has maybe been
yeah.
like in 5 matches since she's came back, so she's a little like don't want to be putting her through a lot.
Mm,
Naomi, on the other hand, probably could have done a little bit more offense. And then Stephanie just had a match beforehand because they had Worlds Collide right before the show, and then
yeah. And I
then
think
she
she'd
was
had another one the previous day or
yeah, so
something. So like she was knackered and you
she
could
had
kind of
3
tell.
back to back. So, like, for me, like, I get why that like, you got that because I definitely got that too, but, like, the logical sense of why they did that, while I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying, because as a fan's perspective, everyone should be getting the same amount of offense. I understand from a match structure, considering the things that were going into the match. I knew Rhea wasn't going to take any big bumps. I knew she wasn't. Like, she's Rhea. She's not going to they're not going to put her, they're her she is like literally number 2 or 3 in merch sales behind Cody and Roman. Like they're not going to
Really, that doesn't surprise me.
yeah,
That
like
doesn't
they're
surprise me.
not gonna put their like their gold medalists like through a table all the time. Like they're just gonna I that's why I
Yeah,
didn't
the golden goose can't get
yeah,
injured.
that's why I was like, I don't want her in the match because that was like, because I was like, she's just not, she's gonna be there. Like she's probably gonna be the favorite. I'm glad she did not win. I'm glad Naomi did pick up the victory in this match. But there were still,
Same, same.
but I will say when the ladies were given the ones that were not shown, but when they were given the time, they made the most of it, right? Like I remember you
Yeah,
mentioned Stephanie, like there was a spot in the match where she does this really crazy dragon screw on Naomi from the ladder, and that was like that to me was really really cool. And the fans went not like crazy for the devil's kiss with Rhea on the ladder. I don't like the move personally. I think it's a little just too pandering to the male audience personally. But
I
I'll,
agree.
but I'm like fine, whatever. Make the guys happy. I will say I
I
really
feel like just to touch on that move very
yeah.
briefly, I feel like that is treading the line. Like it's between what we used to have in the Attitude Era. Nobody
Mhm.
wants to go back to quite that level of degeneracy.
Yeah.
But it's still it's recognizing that actually probably the majority of their audience probably is male. So
Mhm.
I don't I think it's a good balance is what I feel.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's not the greatest movie. Definitely doesn't look like it's doing a large amount of impact, but obviously it's sold well.
Mhm.
It gets a big pop, so
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. On the
Yeah.
ladder, it definitely looked like Stephanie was the one that was taking the
Yeah.
far more
Yeah,
serious
with her
impact on that.
knees.
Her
Yeah.
knees must have been wrecked after that.
Yeah, but like you said, I mean, Julia and Roxanne did carry the match in this in a sense of like they had the most screen time. They were taking the gnarliest bumps. There was one spot where I can't remember who did it on Julia, but there was an electric chair spot where they picked her up above her shoulders and then dropped her right on the ladder. I'm like, that took me. I was like, oof, that was rough. And
I've got a
then
couple of spots written down, but that isn't
mhm,
one of them. But yeah, there were some very nice spots for
yeah,
sure. And I definitely feel like out of the two of them, Julia prefer. Is it pronounced Julia?
yeah, it's
Is that
Julia.
right? I,
Yeah,
okay. She definitely outperformed Roxanne for
yeah.
in my mind.
Yeah, no, I think
Um,
they're I think those
yeah.
yeah, I think those 2 ladies in particular, like, when we look at, like, the future of, like, the business, like, those 2, like, Triple like, they're pushing Julia very, very heavy on SmackDown.
Mm.
Like, she's in everything, everywhere, like, she's very pushed. Triple H one thing I will give Triple H, he loves his Japanese wrestlers. Like, he puts them on the map. Like, Oscar went
Yeah.
undefeated for almost 600 days. Io's the current champion. Back down in NXT, Kyrie was NXT champion, and then Julia's coming over, and he's like, "Nope, we're pushing her to the moon." I like how Roxanne is getting pushed, but she's getting pushed in a more of a storyline driven thing over on Raw right now. So I'm very
Which
and
is good.
which is good because I think that benefits Roxanne as well because now while she can go really well in the ring, she can also tell a story like behind the scenes, which in WWE is a big thing. You got to be able to tell a story in between those. But I will say
Yeah.
like the end result of everything, Nick, if you want is there a spot in particular that you want to mention?
Hang on. Give me
I will say
one
while you're
second.
looking, there was a spot with Bliss and Rhea where they both hit their finishers at the same time, and then they looked at each other, and
Yes.
that that was like okay, I think I'm here for that. I like that match. I like that. I like the connectedness of that
Okay.
spot.
You
That
know
really that
what?
drew me in a little bit.
Yes, I did like that one. However, I believe it was just like 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes prior to that one. You'd had a similar spot where you'd got what was it? Is it Code Red?
Yeah,
Double Code Red
Roxanne
because I've
and
got it written down.
Bliss had both
Was
at
it
the code red. Yeah.
yeah, it was a great spot,
Mhm.
but I feel like this was a testament to Roxanne's newness,
Mhm,
how showing how green she was throughout the whole match. I'm not commenting on her wrestling ability
mhm,
per se, but in terms of the lack of experience in a match like this with this, you know, this style of the fact it's a ladder match, like
mhm,
it could have been anything. It could have been tables. It could have been a cage. It could have been anything where there's some sort of external factor to the match as opposed to just one-on-one
mhm,
wrestling. And I felt like she frequently showed that she was just not that experienced. And that double code red, it did draw me out of it where I was watching it. She was constantly looking at whoever it was that there was the other person hitting the
it was Alexa.
code red. It was Alexa, right?
Mhm,
Roxanne was clearly she was trying to get the timing right, but you could see her staring at her, like waiting for Alexa to get into
yeah,
position because she'd gone too maybe too fast. So it did pull me out of it a bit. But then, yeah, followed on from the finish after that with Alexa and Rhea. Great, that was lovely. But I mean, in terms of other like big spot, that was probably the spot that I wanted to touch on. That double code red and how much. There was a point where there was meant to be a race on onto the ladder, and it just looked a little bit scuffed.
mhm,
And so while the match as a whole was good and I enjoyed it, I did feel that there was an element of messy and not in a good way.
mhm,
And it did seem a little bit untidy, lack of polish. And I think 9 times out of 10, when it did look like it, something not flowing right, it
mhm,
was down to Roxanne's newness,
yeah,
which is fine. What I would say is that that doesn't comment on her ability as a wrestler. And frankly, credit to WWE for giving her the
mhm.
opportunity and the chance to like get thrust this much into the limelight. I mean, she's young. She's like what, 19?
She's, I think, 22.
22? Okay, I thought she was a little bit younger, but still, like she's still early on into her career. It's not a concern that she any of these things got a little bit messy, but it was noticeable at this point in time. But I think the the trust of WWE in it was really good to see, and I think that another couple of years when she's maybe in a or something like that, I think you're going to see a much different version of. I'm kind of here.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you were saying about Roxanne specifically. She definitely, I will say, I think, like you said, I don't think it's her ability that's the question. I think it's just that timing, right? She's got, and again, with the multi women matches
Yeah,
specifically, like, I don't want to say that she got into position too early or Alexa got into position a little too late, but you've got to be able to kind of have that connectedness with someone, and I think that just goes with the experience that she will obviously get the more people that she works with in the WWE. But to
yeah.
be
It's
fair,
it's ring awareness, right?
yeah, ring awareness, 100%. And but to be fair, you're right. They have thrusted her in every big match since she's been semi called up or called up. She was the Iron Woman in the last Royal Rumble. She was in there for over an hour. She was in the
Oh damn.
Elimination Chamber, and now she's in the Money in the Bank. And obviously, with Raw happening, she qualifies for Queen of the Ring for furthering that next part. So she very well may. I don't think she'll win that one, but if she does, she very well may be already working her way into the main title picture. But I personally think she's going after the IC championship at some point. I think that's where she's going to go
I'd
first.
like that.
Yeah.
I would
Um.
like that, and I think that'll lead into a conversation we have later. But let's just touch on the
Yeah.
I'm going to say finish, but maybe finish is the wrong word here. But what's your thoughts on Naomi winning?
I'm glad. I think it made the most sense for her to win because she's currently embroiled in a probably in one in her best storyline since she's become like been in the WWE. Her that she's doing her best character work right now. And I was really
Yeah,
glad that Triple H decided to go with something that was, because one thing I will give Triple H credit for is I don't think he books Money in the Bank really, really well. I don't think he does like the people winning it really well as of yet. Because it's been very quick cash ins. I think Tiffany held it for a good amount, and then Drew won it, and then Priest Drew won it one year, and then Priest won it yet. So I'm a little like iffy on him like booking it because a lot of the times it either doesn't make sense or he doesn't do a great job at building a storyline around it. So I think giving this to
Mm,
Naomi is really, really good in the sense that it's going just to add to this storyline that they're going to have, whether that would be potentially Jade winning the belt at some point from Tiffany and Naomi cashing in, Bianca winning it at some point, which is ultimately probably just going to end up leading to a really big match at SummerSlam, or probably taking this rivalry all the way back to WrestleMania next year, which we shall see if that it goes that long. But like with the Money in the Bank briefcase, you can never tell how long someone's going to hold it. But I think for the storyline purposes, it made the most sense that she should win it, and I think Naomi deserves it because I don't think any of the new girls really needed it. Rhea definitely didn't need it, and Alexa
right.
also didn't really need it either. Um, so yeah, it just Naomi made the most sense logically in my mind from a storyline perspective, and I'm glad they gave it to her
Hmm.
because she deserves it. And when she hopefully they don't do a thing where she does cash in and fails, I hope she cashes in and wins it. And she has a really
Yeah.
good title run as a heel because she's the best heel on SmackDown right now. And she deserves
Yeah.
props for that.
Yeah. I agree. I'd like to see her hold on to it for a while before she
Yeah.
cashes it in. I think it really adds something to somebody's character to hold the Money in the Bank
Hmm.
briefcase. I think it is sometimes like undersold the importance of what such a almost insignificant prop it can
Hmm.
be. Not just in terms of it can be a great weapon, it can be something that particularly a heel can use to flout and boost their own ego and character for the storylines.
Hmm.
So I'm really happy to see her winning it. I think that particularly with the recent rework of a character, it's good that they haven't kind of redesigned her and then just left her by the wayside and
Hmm.
you know di- redesigned her purely for the match against Jade at WrestleMania and then been like, okay, cool, we're done with you now, Naomi. Come back in 6 months' time or whatever, and we'll
Yeah.
throw you in a whatever match. So really glad to see it. The only thing is that I feel this match again because it was a Roxanne and Julia show. The Naomi was probably the least involved or impactful wrestler in the whole match,
Yeah.
and like she definitely got the least screen time compared to the other
Hmm.
five women. And it just felt a little. I was happy she won, but looking back on it, it was like, is it right that she won? Realistically, it probably would be the way that if you're involved in the match the least,
Hmm.
you're probably the freshest at the end to claim the victory. So I get it from that perspective.
Hmm.
It just didn't necessarily, there was no feel good factor in terms of her deserving it from the match. I feel she
Yeah.
deserves it from a storyline perspective,
Yeah.
but not necessarily from the match itself.
I think for that specifically, I definitely agree that she had probably the least amount of action, but I also think it added to the surprise when she did win because we didn't see her a lot. For me, because I'm like, okay, well, I think like I want Naomi to win, and then she's like kind of like in
Mm,
and out of the match, and then she finally does one. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So at some point, I was like, I think Rhea's gonna take it, which I'm like rolling my eyes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she doesn't need it. I love Rhea, but like, come on now. But it very much was a thing where she did get. I was like, oh snap, okay, let's go. They're doing it, and but yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think it could feel a little underwhelming, specifically when it is like that. But I also think it adds a little bit more to. Well, people didn't. Well, I don't know because I'm like trying to remember now. I think people did cheer. No one really booed when she won it. So I'm like,
Oh no, it was cheer. It was a big pop when she
okay,
won.
cool,
Yeah,
cool, cool, cool,
considering
cool.
she's a heel as well,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think people were like genuinely the same as you and I, like excited to see what Naomi could do with it.
Yeah. No, I was thinking for a second, like, oh, maybe they're just trying to play into her heel mode by having her like sneak in there and get it. But yeah, no, overall, I was like, yeah, definitely was a weird like the taking the briefcase down was like a weird, like nothing extraordinarily happened. She just kind of climbed up there, knocked someone down. Was like, and then grabbed it down.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, I like when it comes to Money in the Banks, I like those matches where there is like like when there's two people on the thing and then they hit a finisher or they do something and then grab it. I don't like the clean climb up the ladder and pull it down kind of
yeah. It's just
victory.
like Hey, ring's empty. I'm just gonna take
Yeah,
it because I
exactly.
mean you would.
It works. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how it would go down. But
But yeah, as a
yeah,
fan, I was like, I always want a little bit more action towards the end for those. But yeah, definitely, man. But yeah, overall, very happy, excited to see what she does with it. Again, I personally, and when we talk about the men's Money in the Bank, so I'll give you the reason why. It's probably not the best reason why, but there's something that happens in the men's Money in the Bank where I'm just like, all right, yo, like there's too much going on. I think that's what it was. We'll get to it. And then
okay, fair,
yeah,
fair,
yeah,
fair.
and we'll get to it. But yeah, the next match on the card, and I think this one will be a quick one to really talk about. But like
Yeah,
Dom versus Octagon. I thought it was really solid match. I think obviously it was very
yeah.
quick, and it deserved to be. I think it made Dom look strong in the sense that
Mhm.
he was just like, hey, like you saw the cutaway, like he challenged them at the Worlds Collide event. They accept it, and it was very like quick. But I was like, I literally typed down fun throwaway match. But I did say I do wish Dom would have a proper 20-minute singles one-on-one like match for the IC title. I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him really work a match because I think both me and you have. I mean, I've always been like a big Dom supporter when it came to his improved ability, but and you've seen it firsthand now along with me.
Yeah,
But like he can, from what I can see, he can really, really go. And I want to see him go a little bit longer and a more sustained one-on-one match. Like I obviously with the Judgment Day seeming like it's imploding on its and it's on itself, I honestly would be all for a Finn versus Dom for the IC title match with a good 20 minute,
agreed.
a good 20-minute banger. Like I'm not saying like I don't care who
Yeah,
wins at that point. I personally want Dom to win that one anyways, because I want him to continue being the IC title. But I winning being the IC champion, but I want to see him in a proper singles match and just let Dom and his opponent go for 20 minutes and just see because every showing he's had from the most part has been a multi-man match or a tag match. And
multi-man or quick nothing.
yeah, and
Yeah,
so I want to see a little bit of a longer. I want to see like an Eddie Guerrero classic out of Dom. I think this match was just a quick throwaway match. It wasn't anything special. Nothing to write home about. But I'm glad
no.
that they added it in there because I do believe the IC title should be put on more pay-per-views. Same with the US title.
Yeah, yeah. These mid card belts, like particularly the IC, has always been considered the working man's title, right?
Hmm.
And so it's good that it's defended often. I don't hate that they got somebody from an extra. It's not external company, but essentially they're
Hmm.
not necessarily WWE. This Octagon. It's from what is it? AAA? Is that the
Yeah.
company?
Hmm.
Um, However, I have noticed there's been a few of these recently
Hmm.
where you've had like obviously I'm going to use Orton at
Hmm.
WrestleMania. TNA wrestler,
Hmm.
of course, Orton's going to win, and there's been a couple of these AAA
Hmm.
wrestlers coming in for matches, and they lose because when you're on a WWE PLE, what you want to do is put over the WWE wrestler. And that makes sense. And
Hmm.
I'm here for it. But it does sort of become a little bit predictable. I mean, nobody in their right mind thought that Octagon was ever taking this title off Dom,
Yeah.
unless we were going to see a surprise shift from Octagon joining WWE. Because he's never going to take in the Intercontinental back to AAA. They're not going to
Yeah.
allow that. So it was somewhat predictable, but that didn't mean that the match wasn't good. I felt like the match had quite an old school feel to
Hmm.
it, if that makes sense. And this same style I felt carried on through the other matches that weren't the ladder matches. The
Hmm.
very old school classic style matches, and in a good way though,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't a case of oh, I've seen this all before. It was like, oh no, you know what? This is the feeling that got me into wrestling in the first place. It
Hmm.
was that short, sharp choppiness of it. While yes, I absolutely want to see Dom have a banger of a match. He needs it because otherwise you do start to think, can he actually have
Hmm.
have a proper match? But for the purposes of enjoying this PLE, which is what we're here essentially to rate, I felt it slotted in quite nicely. And while the match was nothing special, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
While I could have been, I have never heard of this Octagon bloke. I don't give a crap about it. I know who the winner's going to be. I'm tuning out. Instead, what I got was to be able to watch some good wrestling.
Mhm.
That's all it was. It was just good, entertaining wrestling, and I appreciated
Yeah.
that, regardless of the you know
Yeah.
all the else, everything else surrounding it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good solid 5-minute match, and that's what it was, and
Mhm.
that's okay. There's you can have a good match in 5 minutes. You can. It's fine.
Yeah.
We don't need to have Lesnar and Goldberg matches, guys. These are not. That's not what we got there. All right. And then like
No, no.
continuing with the men's IC, and then following up with the women's IC title match with Becky versus Lyra number 2. Um, dude,
Yep.
bro, like you said, they wrestled not a they wrestled an old school type of match, and
Yeah.
it works. They have, we talk about what is the word? I was like soulmates in wrestling. Like they work
Mm.
so well together, like Becky and Lyra.
Yeah.
They really, really do. And I was n- a little worried. Is like, is this going to live up to the last match? Because the last match was really freaking good too. And I must say,
Mhm.
I don't know which one I like better, but it's neck and neck for me. Neck and neck. I would say maybe selfishly, I like the previous one better because of the person who won it. But that being said, with this match, it was a great match, man. We had uh, there was a top rope suplex from Lyra, top rope
Yeah.
fisherman's suplex from Lyra, which was absolutely beautiful. Then they went for that leg drop from the table, which was also really freaking gnarly. Yeah, the
Mhm.
manhandle slam kick out, it got me. I thought it was over. I thought when she did the manhandle slam from the
Yeah.
top rope, I was like, it's
Same.
over. Done, done, done. And then again, another manhandle slam, and then going from that to the Nightwing again, like when you I mean, obviously, like we do I feel like sometimes we do have like a little bit of a finisher issue where like, okay, they hit their finisher. Are they really gonna like be counted out for that one? But like for these matches, I did it take me out of it. I was like, okay, this is solid. Let's freaking go. And then they did a really, really cool thing because I thought they were gonna go this way for a second there. I for a second thought they were about to do a count out. Like just a double count out. Like I thought they were just
Okay.
I
Right.
thought
Right.
they were going to
I
do it, and I was like, I don't know how I feel. I was like, I hope they don't do it, but if they go this route,
I'm
like,
so torn on what happened here.
yeah. So I'm like, is this a
Um.
good thing or not? And then obviously, yeah, the count out was there. If the count out happened, how would you have felt about it? Would you have been upset? Would you have not liked it? Do you think it added? Would it have added to the story? I thought for me, like thinking about it as I'm like, if they count out, what is this doing for the story? I'm like, this could add a new layer to the story, specifically
So
on like let's just say Lyra doesn't get back in the ring and Becky gets back in the ring. I'm like, there's so many ways they could have done the count out one the right way because a lot of times the traditional count out's like deflating or it's like a end of the episode on Raw and there's an interference and that's how the count out
mhm.
happens. But like a natural count out in the ring, like from that definitely doesn't happen often. And I was like, okay, this is interesting if they go this route. I'm glad in the end they didn't, but I also
Same.
wasn't. If it did happen, I don't think I would have been upset by it. I don't think I would have been mad. I would have been like, okay, what are you? I would have been like, all right, what's going to happen on Raw next? And then that's how I would have thought about it.
Yeah. So the count out for me was I'm very glad it didn't happen.
Hmm.
I don't know as I even like the way that it played out. I feel like at the time I was angry that they let it get to 9 before they even jumped up because it was like they lie there basically not moving for 9 seconds. And then all of a sudden, both are up, they're on their feet, they're in the ring, and it's like, well, this is staged as fuck,
Yeah,
right?
for sure, for sure.
um, and I did kind of think like, I was sort of trying to explain it away. It's like, well, I mean, if I knew I could get up and in quick enough, then I'd probably lie there for as long as I could as well, to recuperate. But it still also it didn't look particularly natural. It's like you're exhausted to all the energy in the world just to make sure you don't get counted out, and so I didn't necessarily like the spot at the time. Looking back at it, maybe it was an interesting way to sort of like forward the match a little bit
Hmm.
forward, roll the match forward into whatever the next planned segment was. But ultimately, no. I think that if that had happened, I don't know how they're booking it. I don't want to be critical of how they would have booked it because I got really, really upset at this whole feud was booked in the first place. I think both you and I did. Like,
Hmm.
was it back at was it Mania or was it
Yeah,
at Elimination?
it was. It was
At
the.
some point
It was
around there.
Mania. It was Mania, and then they did the
Yeah,
turn the night after on Raw.
yeah. And we were very critical of that, but then I think it's actually turned into some brilliant booking.
Hmm.
So I, I don't know better than the writers in this instance. I think that as it works out, what this is going to turn into, because I don't want to see a continuing feud of these two going on with the belt being passed
Hmm.
back and forwards. Like I don't need another Jey Uso Gunther thing, which is a whole other topic of conversation,
Yeah.
and technically not to do with this PLE really. I would like to see them now move away from each other. Becky can hold the IC belt. The initial feud is over.
Hmm.
Okay, I don't need to see another match. I don't need to see another fight for this belt. Becky can go feud with somebody else for the belt. She can pass it on to whoever. I don't care. But I think that this now sets up for what can be a long term rivalry between the two.
Hmm.
This is what I want to see. But I want to see Becky and Lyra being the new Punk and Rollins.
Okay.
You know, so like we don't see any more of this now. Lyra does her own thing. She's been built up brilliantly by a feud with Becky. Becky does her own thing. Becky doesn't need Lyra realistically. She's already got that much of a following and can pass the IC belt on to someone else. But at some point down the line, there's going to be a point where maybe Becky's, saying, yeah, there's nobody that can go toe to toe with me, or maybe Lyra has a heel turn at some point in the future. I'm not talking instant gratification here. I'm talking long term plans
Yeah.
for these two as wrestlers, and outcomes that are the opposite one to whoever's in the segment, and
Hmm.
it's once again that feud's reignited, and you get this whole thing again, and it's like, oh god, it's Lyra and Becky again, and that excitement boils up because I think it's been brilliant what we've seen over
Yeah.
these last couple of months between them.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for the future of it. I think I liked the actually for once I actually liked the ending for the match. I did think that
Yeah.
Becky doing the tights thing was like, okay, heel win. Like it's a dirty win. Okay, cool, cool, cool. And then yeah, I think like well, I think we will initially get a third match because I feel like they're gonna throw in like some rematch clause thing because they have to.
I hope not.
You know
They
they
don't have to.
well they will.
They don't.
They don't have to, but they will. They pick and choose when they want to. Maybe they won't choose to do this one.
I
Maybe
know.
they'll get her injured or something like that. But I think what this is gonna do is this is gonna eventually, as with the things that we saw on Raw with Bailey coming back and attacking Lynch. I think that will be the next thing. Maybe they'll do a number one contenders match between Bailey and Lyra to see who goes for the IC title, and then maybe Bailey wins, and maybe that's where we start to see maybe a little bit of that turn start happening a little bit. Because
Mm.
I like to say like the Punk storyline that he's been talking about, like how the WWE Championship corrupts people. Maybe they're like, okay, if they do that kind of line thing with the women's titles, like you really want your belt back, it's going to corrupt you, make you do the not the best things. Maybe they play onto that mind a little bit, but I think what it ends up leading to is I think eventually we'll have the Becky and Bailey match. I think Bailey wins one of these matches, and then that's where I see Roxanne coming in and going for the IC title because they had like a little mini feud in the beginning of the year, and nothing ever came out of it. So I can definitely see that going with the women's IC belt trajectory in the next couple of months, and maybe we don't see a Becky and Lyra match interaction until like let's just say maybe there's a War Games match or the Rumble or the Elimination Chamber or something like that. I would be down. I would be down for like that, like you said, that continued like Punk Rollins kind of rivalry where they don't have to be
Mhm.
actively facing each other, but they just have that animosity. And at any
Yeah.
moment they could come in there. So I'm with it. But yeah, overall, great match again. Those two work really, really well together, and I'm
Yeah.
happy with the result. I think Lyra had a weak start to her reign as IC champion, but then she finished really, really strong and definitely changed my perspective on Lyra as a character in
Yeah,
WWE for sure.
100%.
Like, 'cause
I
she can
feel
always go
like
in the ring,
Lyra,
but her character work was
yeah,
was non-existent. And no fault to her own. That was just because the way they booked the IC championship, you know.
yeah, of course. And it happens so often that you can have a completely competent and capable wrestler, men or women, regardless. But if you can't get the crowd behind them, or they can't be booked right, or their character work, that their work on the mic isn't there, it's very difficult to get them to a point where you give a damn about the match, and that's disappointing. And you lose, I think, a lot of talented wrestlers this way. I feel like they have managed to avoid that, and I think it was close to happening with Lyra. I think they've avoided it with this feud with Becky, and it's been perfect. And you talk about wrestling soulmates. I don't know necessarily as Becky needs Lyra, because we've seen Becky obviously do wonders in the past.
Mhm.
I don't even think that Lyra needs Becky going forward, but I think she needed her for now, and I'm so happy with how it's
Mhm.
came out. Um, yeah, so soulmates, maybe not, but it was a brilliant fling, and I definitely think you're going to see some great matches in the future between them. But I don't want them right away. I'm happy where this has ended up.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. All right. And then that brings us to the men's Money in the Bank ladder
The
match.
men's Money in the Bank. Now, I think this was so much better than the women's. The women's, as I said, I think was messy, and not in a good way. I do put a lot of that blame on the inexperience of Rexham, but we've already spoken about that. I felt the men's, on the flip side, the whole thing I felt flowed well. I at no point felt like things were out of place. It wasn't, grade A, 5 out of 5 match type stuff, but I didn't have any big complaints about this whatsoever. So please, Luke, tell me why you disagree.
I don't like when ladder matches, especially the Money in the Bank ladder matches, go off the rails with so much extra shit going on. We did not need the Jacob turn right then and there. We did not need the interference from Seth's squad. You knew that was going to happen, right? You knew it was going to happen, right? But I'm not a fan of that in my matches. I've never liked a ladder match where they called out 4 more people in this ladder match to in the last 20 minutes, when I thought the ladder match was going great for the first 20 minutes. And
It was.
not to say like it was bad by any means, but it was very distracting to the overall flow of it, because we spent a good 10 minutes on Jacob and Solo. What was everyone else doing? Just lying on the fucking ground? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
like
they were, but that
yeah,
happens,
but
right? And
I
I've
know.
complained about this many
I know.
times on this
I know.
podcast before now, so I definitely can't give you any crap for you saying this, but it's something that we do have to accept,
I
unfortunately, in
know.
the world of
But I'm
wrestling.
watching this happen. I'm like, okay, cool, because I'm glad that it happened, but I did not want it to happen there, because I knew it was going to happen at some point. Um, and I just think it was like, again, it was a great 20-minute ladder match from the start, and then the last 10 minutes, you said it was the women's was sloppy. I don't think the in ring work was sloppy for the men's, but I think the storytelling and the pace of the ladder match
Hmm,
got sloppier to the end, because it was just boom, boom,
okay.
boom. LA Knight comes in. Seth Rollins curb stomps him because everyone wants LA Knight to win, and he climbs with the ladder and takes a briefcase down. Right? Like, and I feel like, but before that, there was nothing else, no action in between after the Solo turn. I mean, the Jacob turn to a face, and then Seth's squad coming in and destroying people, because it was very quick. All that stuff, they still told the story that they needed to tell, and then maybe 2 3 minutes went by, and then curb stomp, ladder, win. And I'm like, that took me out of it. And I not that for me is where I have an issue necessarily with the overall flow and pacing of the match. That's just me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying like it was
I
bad. It was just like, for me, that takes me out of it. And I did not like, because it made the ending feel flat for me. I thought the ending was fell flat.
see. I can't disagree with you about arguably sloppy storytelling for the purpose of No, you know what? I am going to disagree
Go
with you
ahead.
because realistically, the way Seth's been billed at the moment is he's the big bad, right?
Mhm.
Everyone loves him, but let's face it, he's the big bad. 100%, he was always, if he's not winning, going to call out the heavies and have them essentially do his dirty work
Mhm.
for him. I think that is true to his character. I think that's what you would expect to see from him. And they came out first, and to be fair, it went down how you would expect it to go down. I feel like in terms of storytelling wise, yeah, made a lot of sense. They when the who is, oh god, my brain's going now. Who's on Seth's team? It's
Bronson and Braun.
yeah, that's it. Thank you. They come out, they put everyone else down. And so, what were the other guys doing during that whole time? Were they just lying on their asses? Yeah, because they've just been put down by these two big motherfuckers,
Mhm.
right? They've got, and it's what you would it's how you would realistically expect the result to go. Now, if you don't have a Fatu and oh god, I don't even
JC.
I know the name. Thank
JC.
you.
Yep.
JC. Okay. Yeah, I definitely didn't know his name. Uh, I haven't seen enough of the in between PLE stuff, and he's fairly new. If you don't have them come out, then Seth just wins there and then.
Uh-huh.
So what you essentially got for me, I felt like it was a tornado tag match within the ladder match, and I enjoyed it. Right? It was sure 10 minutes, but it was if it was a match unto itself, 10 minutes would be short.
Okay.
Right? It was fairly explosive. You got this storytelling onwards of Fatu and Solo. That rivalry has been coming for a long time, and frankly, I'm glad to see them pulling the trigger on it. And then after that, obviously, Fatu walks away. Um, Solo's not come back. Everyone else is laid out. The only person that's got any amount of support out there to get back up is Seth. LA Knight tries to contest for it, and so you get more storytelling of LA Knight yet again failing to secure the win of the Money in the Bank, which everybody wanted him to win it, and I feel like because I've heard some people saying like if they were going to pull the trigger, like they were going to do it. Like I don't think he's ever going to. I don't think LA Knight's ever going to win the Money in the Bank now. And I said that for so many times with matches versus Roman Reigns, right? When Roman Reigns was holding the belt for so long and no one could take it off him, I kept on speaking to friends and being like, if so and so doesn't take it off him, then who on earth can? There's nobody. And yet, what we got from that was a storyline that was 4 years in the making and so satisfying to see at what was it, WrestleMania 40, when Reigns finally dropped that belt. It was brilliant. And I think that we will see, I still think at some point, LA Knight is going to win the Money in the Bank. It's going to be that thing that has eluded him his whole career. And when he does win it, it's going to be a massive pop off. I would like to see it be next year. But even if they don't do it next year and they do it the following year, that still works for me. I still think it's fresh and it will be fresh enough because wrestling fans have long memories.
No.
So for me, what you had was a great start of a match, everything flowing well as you'd expect a ladder match to be. Then the stakes start getting raised. You start seeing some wonderful spots. I particularly because I mean we've breezed straight past all of this. There was one Andrade hitting El Grande with a sunset flip bomb
Mhm.
from the top of the ladder. That was friggin' amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then I think Penta hits Seth afterwards onto a ladder, like maybe a suplex or something like that. The camera angle was bad. You didn't really see it. And there was a few camera angle issues throughout this whole PLE that in no way took you out of it, but I just think somebody didn't tell
Yeah.
the camera person or whoever to be in the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
But you have this great ladder match. Then you get the inevitable Seth calling the heavies in. Everyone gets put down. Then you get this fun tornado tag match of two big heavies versus two big heavies in the middle of it, and they're like decimating, big move after big move, great stuff. Then you get a storytelling, not even heel turn, but like Batu turning on Solo. And then you get the build up of LA Knight, this now magical, elusive thing being taken away from him yet again. And I just felt like the whole match worked perfectly. I understand the point you're making. I just disagree with your end, concept of how it felt. Messy wasn't the word that I'd choose to describe it. Or if you do want to call it messy, I feel like it was messy in a good way. That makes sense?
I mean, I get where you're coming from. I do. I'm saying again, it's just for me, it's a personal thing. By no means is what you're saying wrong. And I feel like I am
Yeah.
the odd man out in that thing. This is a completely a personal opinion from a sense of like I just don't like it in my ladder matches in general where there's a bunch of extra shit going on. I just don't feel like a ladder match needs all that extra stuff because I feel like the ladder match itself can tell that story because like again you said like that the whole first 20 minutes of it were it's a damn good money in the bank ladder match. Awesome spots,
Yeah.
Mexican destroyers from Penta on the ladder, that El Grande spot from the ladder where they tilted and he did that. You know, there's so many great spots that I felt like if the outside interference didn't happen, even if Seth still won it, right? Like I would have much preferred that from a Luke, I will call it a Luke perspective. Like I just like that personally. Now, what you said by no means is wrong. Like I can
Yeah.
take my selfish goggles off and see exactly the point you're making. But like
And
that
what you've said isn't wrong either. I
yeah.
fully get your point of view. You want a ladder match, not a
Yeah.
tornado tag in the middle of a
Exactly.
ladder match. I get that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so like I get the reasoning behind it and everything makes storytelling sense. I just felt like after all that action happened, it just took so much out of the competitors that after everything had happened, it was just super quick. LA Knight had some quick momentum, yanked, curb stomp, climbed up, won. It's again, it just was like after everything, I wanted a little bit more action with the ladder match participants, I guess, because they got their 20 minutes and then that happened. And then everyone else besides LA Knight and Seth Rollins were like, we're done. because and rightly fair, because they got destroyed. Like they got
Yeah.
destroyed. Rightly fair, right? Like there's like again, rightly fair, they got destroyed, so there's no way they were coming back. But just selfishly, I was just like, I knew how it was gonna go. Like I felt like, okay, this is where we're happening right here. Um, I just wish we had a little, maybe if we had a little bit more action before all the story stuff happened, maybe I would have been a little bit more indifferent, different opinion about it. But that's just how I feel about it. But yeah, solid. I mean, overall, I guess we can talk about the winner being Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
What do you
I think it
feel?
definitely does need to be discussed about,
Yeah. Do you
because
feel like
it's,
he deserved it? Do you feel okay? I don't say deserved it. Deserved because he's already won one. I don't think deserved is the right word.
yeah.
Again, I think I guess
So
I'll take my opinion and I'll let you go
yeah,
after.
go for it, because
J-
I definitely have an opinion, and I don't think it's necessarily the same as what a
yeah,
lot of people would
yeah.
have, but I might be wrong on that.
Selfishly, obviously, I want LA Knight to win because like I said,
I know
like
you
selfishly.
did.
Now, again, I think this is one thing I will give Triple H for this set of ladder matches is he's using the briefcase for the stories he's building. And from a storyline perspective, it makes a lot of sense for Seth to have that briefcase because he's the big bad, like you said. He's got that, even though
Mhm.
everyone loves Seth, he's got that overwhelming presence. You never know. Like the end goal for what he needs is he needs to be the champion. Now, whether or not he cashes that in on the heavyweight championship or the WWE championship, who knows at that point. But that being said, again, when he won it, at first I was like, damn, I wanted LA Knight to win it. But after thinking about it, like from a storyline perspective, it's only going to make this story that they're telling even that more compelling with that overlooming threat of Rollins is right there and he can cash in at any moment. And I'm hoping when he does cash in, he cashes in on like a beloved babyface. Like if let's just say Punk beats Cena Night of Champions and he cashes in, perfect.
Yeah,
If for some reason, I'm just trying to think, let's just say for some reason by miracle LA Knight wins King of the Ring and then he wins at SummerSlam and then Seth cashes in on LA Knight to take it away from him. Right? Like that's what I want because that's the only way you're going to get people to hate Seth. Well, yeah, really the only way. Maybe not Punk so much because they're like Punk is like they love Punk and they love Rollins. I think they just like that rivalry.
yeah,
But if they did that to someone like an LA Knight, because I can't really think of anyone that would boo Seth like if they were to win the championship besides maybe Jay again. But I don't want to see him hold the belt. But that's a different story.
you
But
get yeah,
yeah, but like that's the only way I can see that happening. But it makes storyline sense. It works, and I'm very glad that Triple H went with booking the Money in the Bank in the sense that the people who are in the biggest storyline that have the briefcase, it just adds more to the storyline, and I'm here for it. Selfishly, like I said, LA Knight was the guy I wanted, but that being said, I'm not upset that Seth won it. Go ahead,
yeah.
Nick.
No, it's a valid point, and I think you are correct in saying that storyline wise, it does make a lot of sense to give the briefcase to Seth for the second time. Just the same as I think it made a lot of sense to give Naomi the briefcase
Mhm,
for her storyline potential. What I would say is, for me, I think that at the time, same as you, my initial reaction was, God, Seth doesn't need this. And I think I even said it to my mate I was watching it with. I was like, really? You're giving it to Seth? Like, why? What is the point in this? Regardless of how much this furthers the storyline, he can have any storyline he wants, and he doesn't need no damn briefcase to have it. The man can hold the mic. He can get involved with any wrestler he needs to, as much as it can be a prop for him furthering that. It's not like it will be able to create moments, barring Cashin, that he otherwise couldn't create naturally. But what I think this actually does, and I was corrected by my friend, and as soon as I got told this, I was like, actually, great point. Money in the Bank is very often seen as a way of giving somebody that hasn't had a chance,
mhm,
right? If you look at the Royal Rumble, theoretically anyone can win it, and you've seen on occasions, it's not super common, but on occasions these no name or mid card wrestlers win the Royal Rumble, and that's it. That's their chance to get into the main event picture, the title picture. And Money in the Bank is seen as a much more common way for
mhm.
that to happen,
Yep.
as opposed to Royal Rumble, which Royal Rumble, you kind of expect the veterans to win it more frequently.
Mhm.
You expect that someone that's paid their dues to be coming out on top. And so often the final two left in there are like probably already the biggest two names that aren't currently holding the belt in the business.
Yes.
Um, what I feel like this does with Seth winning it is shows that I don't know if anyone's won it twice before. They
Punk
may have,
has.
they may not
Punk
have.
has won it twice.
Sorry.
Punk won it twice.
Okay, wonderful. Punk did, and justifiably so. Punk absolutely would have deserved it, and I can. He's capable in that style of a match. Seth also is, and I feel like letting Seth win this shows that no, it doesn't need to be something that you just put on a new person or someone that needs a push. Realistically, the veterans should be
Mhm.
going in there with the advantage, because otherwise, I mean, behind the scenes, you and I, we make our predictions beforehand who's winning. Neither one of us thought that it was going to be Seth, right?
No.
And
No.
the reason we didn't think it was going to be Seth was because he's not the one that needs it.
Mhm.
You could do X, Y, or Z for storyline purposes with whoever you need it to hold it. But Seth is not the person that ever needs that briefcase. But realistically, if you take the kayfabe away, or you put the kayfabe back in, whichever way around it'd be appropriate, and you go realistically, who should be if wrestling was real, right?
Mhm.
Let's face it, it's not real. But if wrestling was real, who would win this match? Probably Seth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's the veteran. He's capable in this sort of match. He's done it before, so he knows what he's doing. So, yeah, he probably should be the one that's coming out on
Mhm.
top. Not to mention the fact that he's got two, he's got his team to
The
be in
Goon
there, kind of
Squad.
fighting on his fighting on his behalf. So he's got every advantage going into this match. It
Mhm.
is right and proper. He wins, whether you think it's a heel win or not. And I don't even think it necessarily is, because
Yeah.
obviously Solo's team counteracted Seth's team
Mhm.
in that element of it. Although everybody else had been put down, so sure. But yeah, it makes sense, and I feel like it means that come next year, come next Money in the Bank, we're not going to be instantly going, oh well, I think so and so deserves the push,
Yeah.
because I think we go, actually, you know what? This person, they've got Cody Rhodes in it. You know, Cody Rhodes isn't holding it. Cody Rhodes is in the Money in the Bank match. It's like, yeah, I mean, Cody Rhodes, he's the one that's probably the biggest name, so it makes sense if he's the one that's going to walk out as the winner. You get what I'm saying there?
Oh, I get what you're
And
saying. I know you can't see me, but I just rolled my eyes so hard on that one. I was like, oh God, fucking Cody Rhodes
yeah,
winning Money
yeah.
in the Bank, please, no.
Oh, I'd hate it. I'd
Oh yeah,
absolutely
oh
hate it.
yeah.
For the record, Luke can see me, but I can't see Luke the way this is being recorded. Um, but yeah, it diverts expectations
Yeah,
from fans, and I think that is a good thing to have.
yeah.
And then Seth will carry it well.
Mhm.
It will create a banger of a storyline at some point, and I think that yet again, LA Knight not winning it sets him up for a absolutely massive pop off
Yeah,
at some point when he does win it, because there's no way at this point you can build up this sort of a pressure on LA Knight and not give him a payoff.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, you nailed it right on the head, right there. You nailed it right on the head. So, guys, like Nick said, if Cody is in the match next year, he's winning it. Put all your money on Rhodes. But I
Absolutely.
I
Mortgage the house, it goes on Cody.
I digress. And we are moving now to the main event, that being the tag match between Logan Paul and the WWE champion John Cena and Cody Rhodes and the former world heavyweight champion Jey Uso.
Former, yeah,
Yeah, we'll talk about that after this. But I guess
sure.
Nick, again, I always like to toss it to you because you love John Cena. What did you feel about this match specifically?
I felt this match was the same as Becky and Lyra, the same as Diamond Octagon. This was a classic old school feeling tag match,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Um, we'll get into truth towards the end of it in a second, but sometimes I watch tag matches and I'm just like, oh, here we go yet again. The heels are keeping one person away from they're keeping one face away from the tag, and then we're going to see a hot tag, and then it's going to be bish bash bosh,
Hmm.
job done, right? And you either get a heel win or the hot tag is what carries it over.
Hmm.
I felt like this was that same formula,
Yep.
but just executed that little bit better than you normally see it done. First of all, Cena and Logan, I felt had reasonable chemistry as a
Hmm.
tag team, at least well, to be fair, I'd say at least in the beginning. Even towards the end, there was an amount of working together,
Hmm.
and it worked well. I think the styles gelled quite well, and it's not a pairing I'd ever have expected to see, and yet I was happy to see it.
Yeah.
When you then get that breakdown of egos, that is exactly what you'd expect to happen, and I feel like they both acted it really well.
Hmm.
Like it, obviously it's fake, but it felt relatively genuine. Like
Yeah.
I didn't get taken out of the moment going like, oh god, what are they doing that? No, it was like, oh
Hmm. They're doing it.
pushing each other. It's like Cena's like, I'm trying to show you. It's like, yeah, of course you are, because you're the veteran. But Logan's ego is just that bit, and it's a tried and true tested formula that normally I hate to see, but I feel like this was just a well executed version of it.
Yeah.
We can go into the spots and stuff later on, but I think overall the bulk of the match, which is before things started going out the ring and whatnot,
Mhm.
was done really well. Like, do you disagree with me on that
No,
at all, Lee?
no, literally, I literally my first note is actually a solid tag match. Like I was not
Yeah,
expecting it to be a great. I thought it was gonna be a run of the mill like Raw tag team match. Like it's it's the main event Raw tag team match. There's some good spots, but overall it's just your bland old tag team match. I no, I was gonna say yeah, it was solid. Like literally, my notes are read like this. It literally is actually solid tag match. I won't lie. I'm all for the team of Cena and Paul. Lol. As I type this, they're fighting. But yeah, I just like I genuinely thought it was a like you said a more old school way of doing a tag match. It felt traditional. The heels are being heels, neutralizing one person, quick tags, like the storyline of John Cena trying to explain to Logan Paul that I'm the veteran, listen to me, I'm trying to help. Again, that little face of Cena trying to come in and still be that mentor to like a newer guy. Like again, like
yeah.
you constantly are seeing these small little peaks of John Cena eventually breaking him, turning face. But like that was a very like even though he's the heel, but very much giving like Logan a like, hey, I'm the vet. Listen, I'm trying to help us. Trying to help you learn because I like you. Um, and yeah, and then yeah, overall the match itself was fine. The spots were really cool. The one note I had is
Hmm.
Logan Paul, and I'll give credit to Jay Uso for this one. Logan Paul messed up his buckshot lariat, and then Jay just super kicked him right in the face. And I was like, good, because
Yeah.
that's how you turn a botch into like something cool, right? Like again, and that coming from Jay, who we have our opinions on Jay Uso in general as a solo wrestler, but again, he shines in tag team matches. He always does. I did actually,
You're right. I
yeah,
have that same spot written down, by the way. And all of what I would say on that is
mhm.
real quick. I don't think I've ever seen Logan botch that before.
Yeah,
I
it's the first
imagine
time.
it was like not a skill issue. I think like either his knee buckled, his ankle buckled, something like that.
Yeah,
It happens unfortunately in
it's
this physical
yeah,
sport.
it's,
And Jay perfected exactly how
mhm.
it should like be turned into a not looking awkward kind of thing, because you see it sometimes and it's just like, oh, they don't know what to do. Jay was like on it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, solid. Like I was gonna say, like, yeah, they did a really good job with that. Um, again, I sometimes love and hate like the extra spots, like like the drone spots specifically. That being said, I actually enjoyed that drone spot quite well this time. I feel like they did a really good job with that. And then the only other spot that
The
I
next
really,
one I've got on my list as well.
yeah, and then the last thing
We
I,
clearly loved the
yeah,
same things about this,
and
which is
then
great.
literally the only other thing I have left is I really liked the moonsault that Logan did to Jay from the outside onto the ring announce table. That was really, really cool. I literally thought Logan cracked like shattered both his like fucking shins though when he hit it because he's so
Oh,
long. And when he hit it, you just see his shins hit the side of it really hard. I'm like, that looked like it probably hurt a lot. And then yeah, I mean again, and then my last note was not expecting this to be a really good tag match. And I was like, again, as like again, I was literally just like, oh god, it's just gonna be a slow, boring, look, because I feel like we get when with Cena specifically in his most recent run, his matches have not, I mean, besides the Orton match, I thought the Orton match was great, but we watched the Saturday night main event match, we watched this past one, his WrestleMania match with Cody Rhodes wasn't anything to write home about either. Again, he was playing the heel role really well. He plays the heel role well, and I think that just
yeah,
tends to make the match slower, and that's not what we see from the heels now. He plays a old school heel really well, and the old school heels take it down at a snail's pace, which us as fans who have watched for years and years and years and are watching now, we have now become accustomed to the new way that people wrestle now. So it does take a little bit out of us. And that's what I was expecting. I was expecting a slow, methodical, boring tag match. And it turned out to be a good, methodical, good spot heavy tag team match, which ends up ending in probably the most shocking faction in a long time for me, with
yeah,
Truth running in, knocking Cena out. And again, the only way you would know this is even a thing is if you're online, because our Truth got released. I even messaged Nick the day it happened. Um and I
Yeah.
was very, very like I personally was upset by it. I think we all can agree we all love Truth. Like Truth is
Truth's amazing.
a comedic.
I have loved Truth from his entrance,
Yeah,
like when he
exactly.
first joined. Like
Exactly.
he's been
Love
great.
we love Truth here. And so it was really shocking to see him go. And I'm so glad that the fans were upset, but not only the fans, but the roster. I think the roster was the main reason they got brought him back because
Yeah,
everyone
I
on
think
the
they would have been able to ignore the fans after it. Like you give it a week or
yeah.
two, the fans will just accept it's not happening. We'll shut up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but the roster
But the
was
roster
really,
were,
really upset because again, he's a like, and by no means should he have ever been on the list because like from the dirt sheets I read is that Triple H does make all the decisions at the end of the day of which talent to cut for budget purposes. Nick Khan, from my understanding, gives Triple H the people with the budgets. Like these are the people that should be cut for these things. We need to cut two people. Who are we cutting? And I think with unfortunately WWE becoming more and more not being under the McMahon regime again, and by no means was McMahon a saint when it came to he would release wrestlers left and right. I'm not at all saying that TKO is the bad guy, but one thing that Vince
they
didn't,
kind of are.
they kind of are, but like by no means am I saying like TKO is worse than Vince was because Vince was like during COVID, oh my god, like it was bad. Vince was cutting people left and right for during COVID. And so like that was really bad. But for me, I was like, it was shocking. I was like, okay, out of every like I could understand Carlito. I could understand the last round of call-ups
Yeah,
that happened, right? Again, I was just like, Truth was like, you can't do that. Like after he has a Saturday night main event match and he's so beloved. And so I'm glad they stepped in. The big called in the big guns. They called in Nick Khan and said, we need Truth back, and they got Truth back. And now Truth is, I don't know how long his deal signed for, but he's kind of changing his character back to a more serious R-Truth, which I'm all here for because I love his comedy stuff. I think he's a great, hilarious guy. But I also really loved like before he switched like the awesome Truth stuff, the one where he's smoking a cigarette on Raw. Like I love that Truth, and I'm glad they're switching back to a little bit more of a serious side of R-Truth. But again, I was just so happy to see him. I did not see it coming. They really swerved. They
yeah,
swerved me there at first. Cause I'm like, who is this guy? Like I thought maybe it was like another like Uso, like because again, it just seems like
yeah. Right.
everyone in the
It
Black
could
Cody
have been
could have been
Jimmy.
someone.
It could have been Punk looking for his shot
Yeah,
versus like this is how you build for his shot versus Cena. It could have been so many different
yeah,
people that you're going to put in there. God forbid it's someone that they're just introducing new and decide to ruin the main event as a
yeah,
result of it. But no, what we got was we got our Truth, and nobody was upset with it. There was not a single person that would not have been smiling in that arena
yeah,
when you see that HUD come back and that it's our Truth, and it's like, oh my god, he's back.
yeah.
They did bring him back, as far as I understand it, and like Luke and I are not experts, but we vaguely pay attention. Well, I think Luke more than me
I
pays
do.
attention to what goes on and the dirt sheets or
Mm,
behind the scenes stuff. As I understand it, it's not so much that they were trying to cut our Truth. It's more so they offered him a lot less money.
mm,
Our Truth said, "No, I'm not taking that much of a pay cut," and they said, "Well, take it or leave it," and so he left it, and that's where you get the fallout from it. So it's not so much as he was outright sacked, and more so
yeah,
we're not going to pay you as much.
yeah.
But
Yeah. They
the
didn't cut.
backlash has been justifiable,
Yeah,
frankly.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
They didn't cut him.
I
They let his contract expired. So I guess releasing him is
yeah,
not the right word, but they were like, "Hey, since you didn't agree to this contract, we're just going to let it run out." Okay.
yeah.
Um.
The thing is, though, I do sort of understand it from WWE's point of view because he is over 50 years old. I think he's 52 years old. That is not a rest unless that is someone that's like, the big pull. Like, say it was Taker, right? Taker
Yeah.
back in the day, I'm sure he went till he was gone 50 and would have been paid appropriately.
Mhm.
But with R-Truth, he wasn't someone that you're putting at the top of the card consistently. He wasn't someone that is a necessity to have at WrestleMania again, like Taker. And so if I'm in Triple H's position, don't really want to be offering a 50-plus-year-old wrestler the big bucks
Yeah.
myself. So I do get it from their perspective. And don't get me wrong, I don't love thinking of things in like corporate
Yeah.
terminology and mindsets, but that's the way of the world. We live in a capitalist world, so it does make sense. But bringing him back, like obviously, R-Truth has played it well. I have no idea what money-wise he's got, but he's obviously being paid a damn sight more than he was initially offered. I believe he's only got one more run. Like it is confirmed that this, whatever happens, this is the last contract they're signing with him, and that's why they're letting him change his
Yeah.
name back, because it's like, because he's Ron Killings now. It's so that it's his own name, so that when he leaves, he can still carry on wrestling if he wants to, but he doesn't need to,
Have the
do
R-Truth
the
name.
media
Yeah.
stuff to change
Yeah.
his name. He can just be, no, I was Ron Killings when I left, which he will be. I know he'll be Ron Killings when he goes on to do indie stuff or whatever, because that'll probably happen. So I don't think anyone was necessarily the bad guy in all of this, but I'm really happy to see him back. I don't know. I like the serious side to him that seems to be coming back that you're talking about there, but I don't want him to do a full-on heel turn.
No,
That much I will say.
I don't think he'll go heel. I think he'll just go. He'll play like a tweener role where he'll be like he'll do face and heel things. I think he'll play more
That's
like,
fine.
yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. If he wants to go like serious, that's cool. I think overall, I think what it does, and I think why so many people were upset by it, specifically, is it's very shocking to see that happen for like a WWE lifer, like someone like
Mm,
those are the faces where, like, let's just say Sheamus got cut or Miz got cut. Like those are on the line where like, what the fuck? Those guys have been here for 20 plus
yeah.
years. This is shocking. Because again, when we had like the Brays or the Bronze getting cut, like again, those were again when Bray Wyatt got cut, I was like, what the fuck's happening? But like at the time, but at the time, it's just like, okay, those guys have been here for maybe 8 years, not 20 years, like
Yeah.
Truth, Miz, though, like if they cut Ray, for example, which they would never do because he's in the Hall of Fame. But like I would say, like those are the type of guys where like when they let those contracts expire, stuff like that, those are the guys where like, okay, they've been here for 20. I think it was just like more of a loyalty thing. Like, hey, these guys have been here for 20
Mm,
years, da 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 da. Like, hey, why are we letting these guys go? Because they're nothing but good. They do nothing but bring value to WWE outside of WWE for appearances, and just the fact that, given the fact that they have not maybe been given the most stuff, like they're still there and they're still
yeah.
very loyal. Because at any point they could have easily been like, deuces, I'm not signing this next contract, and I'm going to go to AEW where they will probably triple my salary because I'm a WWE guy. So, you know
They
what I'm
would.
yeah.
But the thing is, if Truth had gone to AEW, what are they doing with him over there?
No,
Like, are they going to
they're
thrust
just
him into the title picture? Like, not
no.
really. Maybe as like a quick run, just to say, like, hey, we got Truth. Look at this. Then yeah, now he's got the title, and then they take it off him because that's not what they really need. They'd literally be taking him to spite WWE at
Yeah.
that point,
Yeah,
and I
no.
don't think that's
Well,
good for, it's not good for AEW, it's
yeah.
not good for Truth. And yes, I know he's now Ron Killings, but
Yeah.
my instinct is to call him still
He's still
Truth.
going to be called Truth no matter what. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think again behind the whole political mumbo jumbo and business side of things, I'm happy that he was there. I'm happy he came in and
yeah,
interrupted John Cena. I hope they continue this feud going on for a little longer. And I'm excited for it. I'm happy he's back. Obviously the result of the match is Cody and Jay end up winning. So cool. The faces win, and
yeah.
that does it
I,
for,
I
yeah,
I think it was a good result
yeah.
overall. Like I didn't, I expected probably the heel win, but I don't think it was ever cut and dry, and I don't think it ever really mattered who won that match. But Truth, and I think that's the perfect place to bring Truth in for
Yeah.
this, to make it a case of who won. Nobody really, because essentially Truth just decked out Cena.
Yeah.
That's how the match ended,
Hmm.
not because one person was better than another.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that does it for Money in the Bank. Again, like I think me and Nick said at the top of the show, good show. Like nothing was
Very good
extraordinary.
show.
And no, there were no point where there were any weak matches. But yeah, it was a solid show. And then I guess we have to touch on this because obviously the next time we'll be talking about Night of Champions. And so
Right. When is
we
that? How far away?
I want to say it's in a couple weeks. I want to say it's like maybe July. Sometime in July, I think.
They are coming thick and fast, and I would like to see WWE slow down just a
I
touch.
think they do after SummerSlam. I think once September,
Yeah.
October, November hits, they slow down tremendously. So we will see, but that's coming up pretty like it feels like right around the corner at this point. And so what we end up having happen on Raw, there's two things I think we'll just touch on really quickly. The match that's going into it for Cena looks like is going to be Punk and Cena at Night of Champions, which I'm here
Yeah.
for. I wish they would do it at SummerSlam. It just seems much more of a SummerSlam type of match to put on the show. But that being said,
I could see I could see the match falling through and not happening at Night
yeah,
of
me too.
Champions. I
I think there's some
Yeah.
I think there's one thing in particular that I know about Punk is he does not like Saudi Arabia for political like personal reasons and
Mm.
whatever. So I can easily see like something happening along the line of like truth being thrown in there to do that match and then they have the matches. But if it does happen at Night of Champions, whatever. At the end of the day, that's going on. But I guess the big thing we need to talk about is Jay did end up losing his match against Gunther on Monday Night Raw. Gunther is a new world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
I guess what we can talk about is, I guess, Nick, are you happy the belt's off Jay and on Gunther? Or are you, because me personally, while I was not the biggest fan of Jay, I'm also was not the biggest fan of Gunther's last title reign. And I feel like they just don't know what to do with the man without a belt. And I think that's a detriment on Gunther, like in the sense of like he needs to have a belt to
Yeah.
be good, like have a story going on. But what I want from Gunther this time around is I want him to be facing actual competitors because the last one we didn't get shit from him. Like they
We've
didn't
just
put.
got Jay versus Jay versus Jay, right?
So I'm
Like,
hoping we get like a returning Ilya Dragunov. Fuck, give me a Sheamus match. Throw in McIntyre when he comes back. Throw in, have him face Punk, have him face Rollins, have him face like these guys so he can have good matches, and then I will be a-okay and right on board with Gunther as champion again. But I will
yeah,
say
same.
I do feel like Jay's run was a little short and a little lackluster as well.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they very much I think what they're gonna end up doing is I think very much so they're going to throw Jay and Jimmy back together as a tag team. Because
And I don't want it. I've seen it for 20 years or
yeah,
however long it's been, and I'm done with it. Like, I'm not saying they don't make a good tag team. I think they make a great tag team. They're one of the best ever. But
yeah,
like, I've seen it. It's been done. I was kind of here for a new version of Jey Uso. It maybe left Jimmy a little bit in the dust,
yeah,
and that's a concern because I didn't want to see him get left behind. But as far as I understand it, the like behind the scenes stuff is that Jimmy was being a naughty boy, getting in trouble with the law a little bit, and as a result of that, Jay was the one that got the push, and Jimmy didn't get squat as kind of punishment, like
mhm,
learn your lesson, toe the line, do what you're told, kind of thing. And so I don't hate that that's the way it played out, but I feel like the run Jay got was absolutely lackluster to my not. I think did how many people did he even defend it against?
defended it against
Like,
Logan and he defended it against Gunther, I think.
is that's it,
He's
right? There
only
was
two
nobody
title.
before
I think
Logan.
he only had two titles, unless he had like enough. I think he had a match. Maybe he was challenged by Seth, but it was paused, but it stopped due to interference. I think, or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I something like that.
Something like that
And
on
I'm
Raw.
just sort of like, as much as I love Logan as a wrestler, I don't think it was ever certainly as Jay's first real opponent. It was never going to get dropped to Logan because I feel like that would have made Jay look too weak.
Yeah,
The match versus that he then had where it got interrupted and whatnot. No, that was the match versus Logan. Has it literally
I think it's
just
only been
been?
two. I can't think of the third
Yeah,
one. So
no,
yeah,
I think that's right, and I just feel like it took him 3 matches to win it off Gunther, and then he loses it to Gunther as well. I feel like it does Jay a disservice
mhm.
I think it makes Jay look a little bit weak, a little bit like he can't stand on his own 2 feet,
Mhm.
and he needs Jimmy back to be his support.
Well,
And that's not good because now we're going to get them back as a tag team, and I've just lost all
I
enthusiasm
mean,
for it.
again, it's
Right?
yeah. I mean, it's not good, but I think what unfortunately what we've seen is Jay as a singles wrestler is he's not ready for it. Like I just don't.
I liked him.
I
I
think
I
he.
did. Like
I think when
maybe not top holding a top belt, maybe not holding a
like
top
maybe
belt, but
put
there's
him.
no
I
reason
was like maybe
he
put him in the
couldn't hold
eye.
a US or an
Yeah,
intercontinental or
maybe put him
something.
down in the mid card. But again, like again, his persona is main event Jay
Main
Uso,
event.
right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So he's gonna have to be in the main event. And unfortunately for Jay, and again, I like his gimmick. I think he's good. I was he had a great run to get to the championship. Like it was a very like Cinderella story. I think that was really, really good and a really good feel good moment. But at the end of the day, I think what happens with Jay is when the lights get on with Jay, depending on who he's facing, he can't necessarily go with the top guys, right? Like he just can't, and that's unfortunate. So I would love to see him go down to the mid card, but I think ultimately what's going to end up happening, like you said, and while I don't want it to happen, he's going to go back to go tag with his brother again. And while I've seen it a lot, I might be not ready for it quite yet. I think unfortunately the Raw tag team division needs it. It's weak, man. There's nothing going on there. And you can't be having this amazing SmackDown tag team scene that they got going on SmackDown and have Raws. Like it's just a constant rotation of New Day, Alpha Academy, Viking Raiders, New Day,
Yeah.
Alpha Academy, Viking Raiders. Like they desperately need that. Now I'm not saying they don't have to be together for a very long time, but like do a little 6 month run for a little bit, see what's going on, or then drop Jay down to the IC title, but like I don't want to see him take it off Dominic, right? Or what is Jay doing after this? Like, is he going? I know he's in the King of the Ring.
Yeah, that's the question,
Like
right?
he's been put in the King of the Ring tournament. So does he win it and face Gunther at SummerSlam, and then he wins it back? I don't think I want that. I just don't know what is there for Jay. Maybe they're gonna give Jay some time off after this thing to because he's been going strong for a year and a half. Being the top guy, giving him maybe a little bit of a 2 month break before they bring him back. But like, I just don't know what's left for Jay. And again, I think it just goes to show not everyone has to be at the top all the time.
No.
And I think Jay can go down, shuffle down to the mid card for a little bit. Maybe put him over on SmackDown so he can go for the US title for a little bit. And then maybe have him reunite with his brother or something like that. Like give him something else because again, I think he just needs to get off Raw. Just get him off Raw. Put him somewhere else.
I agree.
I feel like he's had like it's always Judgment Day with him last year, and now it's Gunther, and like just get him off Raw. I would love to see like a potential if they turn Cody Rhodes heel and Jay goes against Cody. Like I think that would be a cool match to go later down the line if they go that route with it. Like I just don't. I think I'm just grasping at straws right now for this
Yeah.
because I just don't know. But I'm the channel change makes me feel meh. Like I'm just like I don't know how I feel about it yet, and I guess only time will tell. But please, for the love of God, I don't want Jay to beat Gunther and like a month for it back. I don't want that.
God, no.
So
Like,
just
I am happy that they had uh, the title change on Raw, right? The
mhm,
fact it wasn't on a PLE, that's great because what that does is it builds up the potential that there can potentially be these title changes on Raw or SmackDown. And I
yeah,
think we saw the women's belt change recently as well when Io first won it.
mhm,
So that they are getting to this point where actually yeah, you do need to watch Raw and SmackDown if you want to see every potential
mhm,
title change hands. And that's a good thing.
it is.
However, who Jay dropped it to, I don't even necessarily mind Jay dropping it, right? I don't think he should have dropped it yet. I think it does weaken him a little bit. And God, I really don't want to see him get put back with his brother. I think he should never have been given main events as his like the theme of what he was portraying there. Um, yeah, but sure. The main thing for me is, why did it have to be Gunther that he lost it to? Because now it's just going to be, you beat Gunther once and you held the belt for a month ish.
Yeah.
Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's that. It's Gunther is better than you. It just is. There's now been 4 matches between them, and Jay was able to win 1, and it was the one when it mattered. It was the one when it got the most views because it was WrestleMania. But other than that one time, Gunther's beaten you 3 times. Yeah. So I think that they need to book Gunther better now they're going into this title run. And supposedly the reason they've given him the belt is so that they can make this final Goldberg match be a bigger deal, which I'm like, whatever. But it's still Goldberg's final match. So even if you put the title on the line, it's not like he's going to win it. Because what's he going to do? Come back, have a single match, win the belt, and then bugger off before Cena buggers off with the belt? Yeah. And then you've just you've stolen the whole gimmick of what Cena's going for.
It won't happen.
Exactly. Yeah. It won't happen. I think potentially it's so they can do Night of Champions for Goldberg. That might be the case, but I don't feel you need. It's Night of Champions, so of course you needed the belt to be on him to have a match. Yeah. But have Goldberg fight at a different one. Having Gunther Goldberg at SummerSlam without any belt on the line, that could have been a great match. And you don't know who's winning that match. But Gunther needs to be booked better. The Goldberg storyline is pointless with the belt, irrelevant. It's made Jay look weak. I don't want to see him back with his brother. And how do you now? But maybe getting him back with his brother is a way to then split him up so that he can get dropped down to the mid card, because that's where he needs to be. And I feel he would do great in the mid card. Jay as a US champion, for example, perfect. Love to see it. Yeah. But I'm just a bit deflated after the whole.
Yeah, same. I'm just meh. I'm glad it's getting a little bit of a refresh. We'll see, I guess, in a month's time how we're feeling overall. But yeah, it happened. We're moving on and we're wrapping up. Well, yeah. So we're wrapping up here. I mean, guys, obviously, just thanks again for always tuning in and listening. Night of Champions is right around the corner. So we'll be doing another one of these probably around 3 weeks to a month's time, where we'll sit down and talk about the matches and all that fun stuff. But as always, again, I guess closing thoughts again. We both think Money in the Bank was great. Everything that we weren't too miffed by the winners of the briefcases. The matches were solid, and we're happy Truth is back. And we are confused and scratching our heads at the World Heavyweight title scene. But maybe we won't be by the next episode. But guys, that will do us for this episode. My name has been Luke. That is Nick over there, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.